Well, hello. My name is Dr. Yvonne Marie Laria, and welcome to plot number 5, which is reflect. And the social emotional competency that it is aligned with is responsible decision making. I'd like to welcome my two guests. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Laverne Shaw Bailey, and I have one daughter, Simone Bailey.
Welcome.
Hi, I am Felicia Purcell Charles, and I am a social worker practicing in Grenada.
Welcome, ladies. Thank you. And we've gone through 4 plots: recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect. And we do that, and we're doing reflect now, and we're reflecting on our time. And our time is thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. And in the Rumertime process, in the Rumertime process, reflect means to be able to think quietly or calmly, to look back, to show something, to make known to self. And so we're going to talk now about Laverne's story that has been the thread that has been sewn through this tapestry known as her story. So Laverne, tell us how you have reflected. Tell us how you have reflected.
So from the story that I presented in the first plot, there were two interactions. One where she didn't clean the step properly, and I only talked to her about how awful the step was. And then in the second step, I also told her how awful it was, but I did stop, think, regroup, saw that she was mumbling under her breath, walking away, and gave her an opportunity to face me and tell me what it was that she was thinking. So
Mhm.
then the next day in the car, she was in the back seat, I was in the front seat. I said to her, Simone, yesterday we had two different situations with the step. One where you were walking away from me and mumbling under your breath, and another one where you turned around and told me what you were thinking. And I asked her to compare those two scenarios and
Okay.
how she felt of
Mhm.
her interactions in both of those scenarios.
Right. Awesome. And as we said, reflect means to be able to think quietly or calmly, to look back, to show something, to make known to self. And so you did that. You stopped, you paused, you brought it together so as to be able to reflect. And there's a statement, another quote that I have coined, and that is, in order to be effective, you must be reflective. Okay? And so what you are doing and what you did at that time was helping yourself and Simone to be effective as you reflected. Um, so here are some of the questions you want to ask yourself during this plot. Reflecting on your thoughts, you want to ask yourself, what have I learned from this experience? Were my thoughts helpful or harmful? Reflecting on your interactions, who and what will I take along with me or leave behind? Were my behaviors and actions helpful or harmful? As you reflect on your mindset, you want to ask yourself, how do I see myself as I move forward? Were my attitudes helpful or harmful? Or, as you like to say, Laverne, productive or unproductive? Um, and then as you reflect on your emotions, you want to ask the questions: what feelings were most overpowering during this experience? Have those feelings been helpful or harmful to your growth and development? Okay, so those are some of the questions you want to ask yourself to help you move through this plot. Um, you always want to have these types of questions, kind of circling around in your head, um, so that you become reflective, because that's when you're going to learn from the experiences you had. So what was Simone's response to your question, Laverne?
She said she liked it better when she could face me
Mhm,
and say what she had to say
mhm,
instead of walking away and mumbling under her breath, because I invited her to share her ideas.
mhm. Right. Wonderful. Um, what about you? As you reflected, right? You invited her to, but was that the first time in that situation that you reflected, or did you reflect prior to inviting her into that space?
In the car?
Hmm.
Oh,
Or prior to the car? There was time between when the events happened and the car.
well, I that night after the whole, because it happened in the evening, and then that night I knew that I wanted to ask her to get
Okay.
the opportunity to reflect on how both of those felt.
Mm-hmm. And how did it feel for you?
Well, I realized that I did take a moment to process. I didn't just move on to the next thing without
Mm,
spending some time thinking about what I had just done and what do I want to do in the future.
right.
And part of what I wanted to do in the future was to start with giving her an opportunity to reflect, just like I had an opportunity to reflect.
Reflect. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Mhm.
And so, Kalisha, you want to say something?
No, 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 I'm saying I agree. I'm listening to what she's saying and
And so, as you as you were reflecting at that night, Laverne, before you invited Simone in, what other maybe thoughts and mindsets and emotions do you recall experiencing?
I don't remember a lot, but if I know myself, I know that I felt pretty disappointed in myself, that this was another time where I could have stopped this from happening two steps before, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, I'm pretty sure that's something that I felt that night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also, I was pretty proud of myself that I did stop in the spur of the moment and say, okay, I invite you to turn around and face me and say what you want to say. So I had mixed emotions.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said you were proud of yourself, because I one of the things I don't want people to walk away with is that the Rumertime process is only for individuals to use in negative situations or adverse situations. I want people to understand that you can rumorize every situation, even times when you feel proud. And I think, Laverne, you may have a story that you you used or you experienced when you used the Rumertime process in a positive way with Simone, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to rumorize a positive experience.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was a situation where something positive had happened and we went through like, okay, what were our thoughts during this positive time and what were our interactions and what were our mindsets and
Right.
our emotions. Yeah.
And so I want people to understand that every time is rumor time, seriously, really. And that the more you practice
Yeah.
each of the steps, it becomes a part of your,
everyday, daily, it's just
yeah, your daily
second
interaction
nature.
becomes second nature. And when you rumorize the happy stories, the positive, successful stories, it gives you more practice, but it also gives you more memories of success, right? And the more you reflect on positive experiences, then when the negative ones come, it's not as difficult to rumorize them, but it's also not as oppressive,
Mm.
right? And it doesn't feel as hard and, drudgery. And so we want you to remember that as you create collaborative environments and relationships, part of being able to create those uh, is the ability to reflect on your some of the positive experiences that you have, and that creates connection. It creates um, effectiveness, and it creates transformation. So those are the main points of the reflect plot. And as we close, again, what are some words of, what are some reflective words or reflections that you have, Laverne and Kalisha? What are some reflections on the reflect plot or any of the other plots that we covered?
I think for me, you, you saying or you coming up with, in order to be effective, you have to be reflective. It really speaks a million words, because I think reflection is truth. And if we don't have the ability to reflect, we will never see, or we will never get also to notice the root of our problems. We would not be able to maintain, we would not be able to have, to be self-aware. We will not be able to maintain healthy relationships. Like our um, reflection, just again, every time I think of the word to reflect, it just spells truth. It
Mm,
life, it spells honesty, dignity, integrity of who we are and how we relate to ourselves and to other people. So I think in the whole process, as we try to address our challenges, or whatever it is that we're working on in our lives, we have to be reflective in order to be effective. So what you've said, Dr. Laria, is just perfect.
okay, good. Thank you for sharing, Kalisha. Laverne?
I just think that, we talked about how rumor time process is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reflecting part is, I think, really amenable to putting in the loop. Like after you recognize, you can
Mm-hmm.
reflect there. Even if you haven't understood,
Yeah,
managed, expressed, you can, after every one of the plots, reflect is something that you can put into the loop.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. Yeah, people need to know that it's not linear and it's not siloed. So it's not like it's clean or finished room. I finished recognized and I'm never going back to recognized, or I can't understand while I'm recognizing, or I can't manage while and so I like how you say, it you put it in the loop, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you put it in the
It's
loop.
it's reflection is constant.
It's constant. It is constant. So, well, this ends our 5-step social emotional problem solving strategy known as the Rumertime process. We have come to the end of that process, but we have not come to the end of the work that has to be done. You will always be able to find stories because our lives are made up of multiple stories, and you will always be able to find opportunities and situations where you would need to rumorize. And so, thank you for joining us. You will be able to get more information about the Rumertime process if you go to www.everypeacematters.com, or you can also go to www.instituteforsocialemotionaleducation.com, and you will be able to get additional information on GC Scored. Thank you. Thank you, Laverne Shaw Bailey, for being our storyteller, and having to go through all the different emotions and the different uh, thoughts and mindsets and interactions and examining things and bringing up things from the past. But you were gracious and kind to do this for the good of humanity, um, taking those emotional risks for these 5 teaching videos. We thank you on behalf of GC Scored. We thank you. Felicia, I thank you for spending hours on end, uh, beyond, you know, what is normally required of anybody, losing sleep and all the other things. We appreciate you and your skill set and your understanding, your deep understanding of the Rumertime process, the cultivating seed system. And Laverne, we wish you well.
Thank you.
We wish you well. All right. Have a
Thank you.
have a good day, ladies.
Okay. Bye bye,
Bye.
Felicia.